instance, we are speaking a lot about electrical vehicle. This vehicle will be equipped with battery, and they will be plugged at every time we will find electrical car plugged into the network. Maybe this car could provide the storage that is needed for such a system to work. That's an idea that is already discussed in some articles, so why not? But there is also this idea that anyway the local grid will be connected to the main grid, and then we have to investigate how these two systems could interconnect together. For the moment, our simulator is isolated, but it is not expected that in the future all the power grid will disappear. So could this system coexist economically, in terms of economy and in other terms? That's another question that we leave for the future. Then again, we have different axes of research that we would like to investigate in the future. In terms of coding, I think, well, we think it's a little bit slow and it's difficult to make a lot of simulation. We would like to improve the speed. We would like to add more sophisticated sources also, something more realistic. For instance, the battery. The question that is raised is that is a battery in fact winning money or losing money because it sells electricity and it buys electricity? It would be logical that such a battery would win money. For the moment, we still don't know. That's something that we will investigate for the future and then find out if we can make it more sophisticated. Then there is this idea of connecting the village to the main grid. For that, we would need to simulate the electricity price that comes out of the wholesale market, and also to think about how it could work. Then we would like to investigate also other auction, because we have been quite surprised to see that at some point the auction was not exactly the way that has been described, and the behavior of the system is completely different. So in fact it seems that the auction is really important, and we need to investigate that. And then there is also this idea of studying in terms of profit and loss for a family. Would a family benefit from such a system or would lose money? That's another question. And that's the end of the talk.
We would be happy to answer any question, if there is.
Eaten away by profit maximization.
All right. Okay, thank you. But well, in fact, we have not still seen if the battery maybe on the real system the power producer have an incentive not to store energy at some point in time. But we have not investigated that. But I'm not sure the battery so far is losing money. In fact, the way that we have implemented the thing here. But we will need to check that, but I would not say that the battery is losing money. I think the way, if we implement a battery that is optimizing its profit in such a system, I think that the battery would react as it is reacting now.
I believe that the question, which relates to the fact that the producers behave like nice people who say, my price is at 99. Actually, if there is indeed only one guy who owns a diesel engine, he could say, I don't care, the price is 1,000, and I don't care you pay 1,000 because you're not flexible, you will pay it. I agree with that, but okay, our system is kind of an ideal situation where offer and demand of the market is very liquid, where people actually, every load has its own logic, and every source has its own logic. And we couldn't imagine in a system where, there is not this kind of behavior, it would be possible that everybody bids and offers at a fair price. I mean, but I realize it's an ideal world, but we should tend to that.
Well, that's a small remark. That only happens when the markets are anonymous. And certainly in small villages, politics really play big roles, much bigger roles than actual cost.
I agree. Reality is sometimes very far away from theory.
Yeah. I think this is very interesting. You quickly flashed up the URL with the code and with the availability. I was wondering if you could just put that back up so we could look up. Also, have you written some of your stuff up as well in a paper or something like that?
No, that's the first presentation that we are making about it. In fact, this creation is just for this event, and we hope that there will be a following up of that, that we will be able to indeed investigate the point that we put at the end, but this is the first presentation. And
okay.
It's just a start. We really want to make, something nice of it, and if it generates enthusiasm, why not help on the project? We would be very happy to create a community of people thinking about this issue. Why not publishing a paper or something, but it's the first time we show something about it.
Have you done some comparison of your results of the simulation with real-world measurements, research stuff that's done in little insulated grids? As far as I know, at least in Japan, they have an isolated grid to simulate load regulation.
We have been looking to see if such a system exists in reality, if such an implementation has been done in reality. To our knowledge, to that extent, it doesn't exist. There are some, villages where they have made pilot projects to have photovoltaic on every roof and stuff like that. But when you connect the village to the main grid, it changes quite completely the economics and the measurements you could take. Our idea here is to kind of imagine ourselves in 30 years, you have no more fossil fuels, or CO2 are so banned that you cannot use them unless it's the last resource. And this today is not imaginable because energy today is still very cheap compared with, the damage we do to ourselves now and to the next generation. Because they won't have energy anymore in 2-3 generations, and we'll be here so polluted that they won't be able to have the same life as we have now. So that's why we think about, let's try to bring a solution. But to my knowledge, it doesn't exist yet.
Okay. Yeah, but to do research on your results, you don't have to make the grid really insulated. You can only simulate it inside this village and using the customer behavior and collect some data.
Actually,
fully connected houses are we able with
most of the data of the load behavior comes from an article where they have made some extended research about, washing machine, what is the probability profile to switch it on at what hour of the day, how many times a week do we use in average a washing machine, how much time does it stay on when you switch it on, all these effects have been simulated, but we didn't have time to, cross-reference all these elements, but it comes from scientific articles.
Yeah, it doesn't...
there is a lot to do in this field.
I only ask for real-world measurements to compare a bit, but
in fact,
results look nice.
That's the idea of the scenario one, is in fact benchmarking the article that Laurent is referring to, in the sense that implementing every number that is in the paper, we add all the behavior and we find this curve that reproduces something that is measured today. So that's the scenario that we can benchmark, and for the other one, then it's really open, because then we have implemented the flexibility and we don't know if it's really possible. In terms of fridge, the fact that the fridge will stop 5 minutes and will just let the temperature rise,